Flight attendants asked an elderly couple to switch seats. Then they made one call, and everything changed. Before we dive in, comment your city or country below and subscribe to the channel. You won't want to miss this story. The tension started as soon as the couple entered the cabin. Quiet and composed, but something in the air hinted that this ordinary flight was about to become anything but ordinary. Everyone nearby could sense that a confrontation was about to unfold. Margaret and Henry Lawson boarded the plane quietly, their small carry-ons barely making a sound on the aisle. They had seats to A and to B in first class, fully paid and reserved, well in advance. Neither sought attention, and both smiled politely at the few passengers who glanced their way. Calm and respectful, they moved with the ease of travelers who had flown hundreds of times but preferred discretion to fanfare. A few people noticed the couple immediately, some curious about who they were, others indifferent. As they settled in, their composed demeanor contrasted with the occasional noisy chatter of other passengers, subtly foreshadowing that not everyone on the plane would treat them with the same courtesy. Minutes after Margaret and Henry sat down, a flight attendant approached with a polite smile. "Excuse me, would you mind switching seats? A frequent flyer has requested these." The tone was soft, almost apologetic, but it carried undeniable pressure. Margaret and Henry exchanged a brief glance before Henry replied calmly, "We're comfortable in the seats we booked, thank you." The attendant's smile faltered, the polite request now tinged with frustration. Around them, passengers began to notice the tension. Whispers floated through the cabin. Some glanced at the couple curiously, others averted their eyes. The flight attendant stepped back, clearly uncomfortable. But the issue wasn't over. The subtle conflict had only just begun. Soon after, a young couple in designer clothes approached, clearly expecting first-class luxury. Their voices were loud, demanding, and impatient. "Why are older people sitting here? This is reserved for us," one complained. The cabin quieted slightly as passengers looked on, unsure how to react. Some nodded, silently siding with the young couple. Others shook their heads at the entitlement. Flight attendants appeared conflicted, caught between policy, customer satisfaction, and the couple's polite refusals. Margaret and Henry remained seated, calm and The tension in the cabin grew thicker, and everyone could feel that something was about to happen that no one would forget. Margaret and Henry exchanged quiet glances but did not rise. Margaret's voice was soft but firm. "We appreciate your request, but we prefer to stay where we booked." Henry nodded, offering a polite smile. The young couple's complaints grew louder, but the Lawsons remained composed, their calmness almost unnerving. The flight attendant's discomfort increased, unsure how to handle the situation. Subtle hints of authority and influence lingered around the elderly couple, though no one could guess their full impact. Passengers leaned forward in curiosity, sensing a silent power at play. Suspense built in the cabin, everyone wondering who would break first. While the commotion continued, Margaret discreetly pulled out her phone. With a few calm taps, she dialed a number and spoke quietly, mentioning the flight number and gate. The flight attendants were unaware of who she was contacting, and the young couple continued their complaints, oblivious to what was about to unfold. The cabin grew tense, every whispered word amplified as passengers sensed something extraordinary was brewing. Margaret's fingers moved with quiet precision, her expression serene. Henry sat beside her, holding her hand lightly, offering silent support. Suspense hung thick in the air. Everyone could feel that a simple, calm phone call was about to shift the entire balance of power on the plane. Moments later, a flight supervisor approached, clipboard in hand and a polite expression on his face. "We'd appreciate your cooperation," he said. "It would help if you switched seats for a few frequent flyers." Margaret looked at Henry and then back at the supervisor. Calmly she replied, "We understand your request, but may we make a brief call first?" The supervisor blinked, taken aback by her quiet confidence. Passengers leaned forward slightly, curious. No one had seen this level of composure in a confrontation. Henry offered a small smile, reassuring the cabin without a word. The tension grew thicker, and a sense of anticipation filled the air. Everyone knew this call might change everything. Within minutes, a sharply dressed executive arrived, slightly out of breath but composed. "Mr. and Mrs. Lawson," he said quickly, "please accept our sincere apologies. There was an internal error, and you are fully entitled to your seats." He gestured for the young frequent flyers to relocate to the back. Quietly but firmly, passengers watched in surprise, some whispering to each other in awe. The flight attendants straightened, recognizing the authority in the room. Margaret nodded politely. Henry offered a brief, gracious smile. The young couple shuffled quietly to their new seats, their complaints gone. The cabin exhaled collectively, stunned by the abrupt reversal. Suspense turned to amazement as everyone realized the true influence of the elderly couple. Margaret returned to her seat, opening a small book, while Henry reached over to hold her hand gently. Neither spoke of the confrontation or the call. Their calm demeanor radiated quiet authority, and passengers sensed that true power didn't need to be flaunted. The young frequent flyers avoided eye contact, embarrassed. Flight attendants continued their duties, a newfound respect evident in their gestures. The couple's humility contrasted sharply with the earlier arrogance in the cabin. The suspense lingered, a reminder that influence could be exercised with dignity, silence, and control, far more effectively than through loud complaints or demanding behavior. The cabin's energy subtly shifted. Whispered conversations replaced complaints, and passengers exchanged glances of admiration. Flight attendants moved with a careful, respectful manner, now fully aware of the elderly couple's presence. Even the young frequent flyers sat quietly, some cheeks flushed with embarrassment. The contrast between humility and entitlement had never been clearer. Margins of tension softened, replaced by an almost reverent calm. Observers realized that the incident had silently reshaped the social dynamics in the cabin. Quiet respect replaced arrogance. Suspense gave way to reflection, and the Lawsons remained composed, holding their space without a word, demonstrating the power of calm dignity over loud privilege. Margaret and Henry Lawson were known in select circles for their philanthropy and quiet influence. Henry, a retired entrepreneur, had built a logistics empire, while Margaret founded charitable initiatives that quietly funded hospitals, schools, and community programs. They avoided publicity, preferring bookstores and small cafes over gala events. Yet their impact was vast, reaching thousands without anyone knowing. Their choice to fly commercial was deliberate. They valued humility over fanfare. Passengers now realized that they had underestimated the couple entirely. The seemingly ordinary pair wielded extraordinary influence, and the cabin tension had revealed a fraction of it. Their understated confidence spoke volumes, silently reminding everyone that appearances rarely reflect true power. With the incident resolved, the flight resumed. Flight attendants offered meals and drinks with renewed respect. Some passengers smiled quietly at the Lawsons, acknowledging their composure. Small gestures, a nod, a polite exchange signaled admiration. The young frequent flyers remained subdued, perhaps reflecting on their earlier behavior. The plane moved through the clouds, and tension slowly eased, replaced by a calm sense of quiet victory. Margaret and Henry conversed softly, occasionally exchanging smiles, unbothered by attention. Observers noted their unshakable poise, understanding that authority often manifests not in volume or aggression but in serene control, patience, and dignity. A passenger discreetly recorded part of the incident on their phone. Within hours, clips of the confrontation went viral online. Comments flooded in, admiration for the couple's composure, surprise at the swift executive intervention, and shame from those who had cheered the young frequent flyers. Social media quickly amplified the story, sparking discussions about entitlement, respect, and quiet influence. News outlets shared the video, praising the couple's calm/strategic response. Viewers around the world were captivated. The incident transcended the plane, highlighting how dignified action could command attention and respect. Suspense extended beyond the flight, as audiences marveled at the subtle yet undeniable power the Lawsons had wielded with a single, calm call. The airline issued a public statement apologizing for the error, acknowledging mishandling, and confirming that the elderly couple's seats were never in question. Internal reviews were launched, staff retrained, and customer service policies revised. The company emphasized respect and equality for all passengers, making sure no similar incidents occurred. Employees reflected on the confrontation, recognizing that professionalism and humility mattered as much as authority. The Lawsons' quiet intervention had immediate consequences beyond the cabin. Passengers and staff alike realized that a calm, well-considered action could have ripple effects. The incident highlighted the importance of discretion, composure, and knowing when to act, lessons that resonated both in the air and across the comp.